Yay. Yeah, looks like people are here already. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is going to be making something amazing called Beyond BEET Burgers from her new book, Dreena's Kind Kitchen. Well, that kind of gives it away who it is. Please welcome back to the show, Dreena Burton. It's so nice to see you again.
You too. It feels like it's been a long time, and I think it has, maybe a year.
It has, because you were on at the very beginning when I started the show, the very beginning of the pandemic, and you were going to come back and do yoga, and we kind of forgot, but now you've got a new book, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's very beautiful, and the recipes look delicious. I haven't made any yet, but I have put little marks in for when I'm going to do that. And what is this? Is this your sixth book?
My sixth solo book. I did do 2 titles with Dr. Barnard, but this is my 6th solo. You don't have time to make other people's recipes. You're doing all your own stuff.
No, but your stuff is really good. And I saw Sharon McRae made your sweet potato lentil loaf and posted on Instagram. And she said even her kid that hated sweet potatoes loved it. So that's amazing. And this is just such a beautiful picture. It looks just like, yeah, I just love it.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with just how the book looks, because that's important for people when they pick it up and they want to visually be drawn into the photos and just the feel of the book, and really happy with what the publisher did with it.
Absolutely. Listen, I got to ask, do people tell you you look exactly like Elle Macpherson, the supermodel?
Only you. I swear, only you. You've told me a couple of times, and you're a sweetheart for saying so, but really only you.
Well, your hair is up today, but I swear when your hair is down, you look just like her. Guys, doesn't she? Come on, you know who Dreena is. I'm not making this up. You do look like her. So anyway, you are making what I would have picked as one of a recipe I was going to try, because I love the name Beyond Beet. It's kind of like, it's not Beyond Beef, but right. It's Beyond Beet, because BEET Burgers are amazing.
Yeah, and I don't like beet. I don't know. I'm one of those people that thinks beet tastes kind of like dirt, because some people have that in their palate, right? Kind of like cilantro may taste soapy. I feel like beet tastes kind of like dirt. So I wanted to find a recipe that I could eat beets and enjoy them. And this is the recipe. This is what I came up with.
Well, great. I can't wait.
Started? Okay. So you do need a food processor for this recipe. And this is a 16-cup one. It's quite large. And if you're using a smaller food processor, the only thing with this recipe is you probably have to do it in batches, because I cook for a lot of people, so I make usually big batches. So we're starting with raw beet, raw carrot, and you have the recipe measurements, but it's raw beet, raw carrot, and some raw garlic. And that's going right in. And in terms of the garlic, I always say to people, if you love garlic and you know you love it, then go ahead and add more, right? But the thing is, with a burger recipe like this, we're not cooking down the garlic first. So it can be stingy, it can be strong in a recipe. So I like to just give those a quick pulse first, get them moving.
It's really funny, Dreena, because I had an earlier show today where they made a chocolate cake and the 2 main ingredients were beets and carrots. So it's amazing how versatile plant-based ingredients are. You can make a cake, you can make a burger.
Right. I mean, a lot of times these ingredients, it's not about, like I often say, it's not about hiding them. It's about using their properties for color and flavor and texture, right? As you well know. And then we're adding some seasonings. We've got some balsamic vinegar and a little bit of tamari.
Do you get the reduced balsamic vinegars in Canada, the kind that I love?
Not the really good ones that I know you can get. We can get them, but they're not the more specialty ones, which I'd love to get. I used to be able to when I could go over the border. We used to be able to hop over, and I have a US mailbox there, but not now.
So you don't have a US mailbox anymore? Because I'd send you some if you did.
Oh, we do, but I can't get over the border, right? With restrictions. The border's not open. I think it's open for you guys to come into Canada, but not for us to go to the States.
So you can't leave.
I don't know. They're not letting us anywhere. So, and then I have some dill seed. I like dill seed a lot. I'm not a fan of dried dill weed. I don't know about you, AJ. I find it doesn't have a lot of like flavor.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't seek it,
Yeah, it's not that interesting, but I find dill seed carries a lot of flavor. So that's what I'm using in here. And I like the flavor of the dill with the beet. If you don't have dill seed or you don't want to use it, cumin seed is a really nice alternative to that in this recipe. and then some sun-dried tomatoes. And these were quite hard when I picked them up. So I just soak them in some boiled water for, 10 minutes, soften them up, drain off the water. And I've got some fresh rosemary. You can use dried, but I mean, if you can use fresh rosemary, the flavor and smell is beautiful. And I'll give that another pulse. I like to work in stages because sometimes those ingredients like sun-dried tomatoes, they can get a bit sticky on the blade. It's kind of nice to incorporate them in batches. And then we have some black beans. That's 2 cans of drained black beans, drained and rinsed. And I'm also adding some, you don't need to add this, use black rice, but I found this black rice by Lotus Foods, and I just love it. It cooks up quick, and I like the color for this recipe. So this is what I had on hand today, so that's what I'm using. But you could use short grain brown rice, long grain brown rice, brown basmati, any rice you want to use. Of course, with the colors, this is going to be beautiful.
I like black rice. I find it's often a little bit sticky, which makes it great for burgers.
Yeah, it has a nice nutty kind of flavor. And then I'm adding in, so it's time to scrape it down just a bit. And then I'm adding in some pumpkin seeds. Okay, so the recipe calls for toasted pecans, but I thought I'd show today using pumpkin seeds because I love pumpkin seeds myself. And it's a wonderful nut-free alternative for people. With measuring pumpkin seeds, when you measure nuts, so in this recipe, I'm using toasted pecans, for instance, they fill up the measure bulky. So with pumpkin seeds, you can use a little bit less because they fill up more in the cup, if that makes sense, right? They're smaller, so they're more condensed. And we're gonna work those in.
Pam says, I have the book and I love Dreena.
Who's that?
Pam.
Oh, hi, Pam. Is that Pam? I know a couple of Pams online. I'm not going to throw out names, but thank you, Pam.
Huntham, H-O-N-T-H-U-M-E.
Yeah, that's the Pam I was thinking. Lovely. So nice to have you here.
Is Dreena your real name? I love your name. I've never heard it before. Is it short for something or is that your name?
It is. I come from a family of 6 girls. And my mom named us all D's, AJ. So we're like Debbie, Donna, Diane, Denise, Dreena, Dale. And I don't know where my mom got my name, but I like it.
I don't think I've ever heard it before, but I really like it.
Yeah, I some people don't like their names. I like my name. It's kind of different.
Your name. I like your name. I didn't like my name growing up, but I like your name.
Right. I think that's true as kids. You tend to not like your name if it's a little bit different. And then we're adding some rolled oats, which help to bind and just kind of soak up any additional moisture. And this is optional. If you want to keep the fat lower, you can reduce the pumpkin seeds or the nuts. But I like to add just a little bit more at the end and kind of pulse them in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work the oats through just a bit first. It gets a little noisy, so I'm trying to not have that blade running continuously. I'll show you in just a moment how well it's coming together. But even with a good quality food processor, you want to get in and move it around because it tends to get very well incorporated around the blade. And then the sides have a lot clinging on. And so it's useful to stop it down a few times and then work it through with the spatula. Okay, we're just about there. This is how you get a little arm workout in too. I joke, I see a physiotherapist for my shoulder and elbow, and I say, I don't have tennis elbow, I have cooking elbow.
You have Cuisinart elbow. It's a new thing.
That's right. And so then I just add the remaining, I take the processor off the base, and I work in the remainder of the pumpkin seeds or the toasted nuts by hand, just so you have some texture. You know, it's nice to have like that little bit of extra crunch in there. And I just work those around by hand. And so when I created this recipe too, the the Beyond beef burgers or Beyond meat burgers had just come out. And I tried one. I bought some and tried them, and they freaked me out. Like cooking them, I cooked it just to experiment and see what they were like. I flashed back to being a kid when my mom was cooking meat, and the smells and the grease on the pan, it was very eerie for me. I don't know if others have had that kind of experience. It was really like a strange experience. And so when I created these, I thought, I want to show people that you can create a burger that actually looks kind of meaty,
Yeah,
right? That looks like a patty.
it really does.
It really does, right? But it tastes so much different, and it's wholesome, and has lots of texture in there with the rice and the nuts and the beans and good flavor. And of course, you could always add other seasonings. If you want to put some hot sauce or something in there, you could do that. And then I'm just going to show you, I have some cooked up. Just going to wash your hands a lot with recipe like this, right? Okay, cooked some earlier. And I put lots of onions on it for you, AJ, because I know you love onions. So I've got some grilled onions there. And I actually prefer these burgers. I mean, I'm one of those people that I like the burger without the bun. Yeah, I like having it like with a salad bowl or on a salad or with some potatoes. My husband and the kids, they like buns, but I kind of like it on its own. But I've got that one layered up with some grilled onions.
I mean, who could bite that? That's like a Dagwood sandwich. That's amazing.
That's huge, right? But yeah, and I pan fried them, no oil, pan fried them. I have a Scan pan, but there's a lot of really good fry pans out there now with the eco-friendly coatings, and you don't need to use any oil to pan fry them, but you can also bake them for about 20 minutes on 400 degrees, flipping halfway through, about 10 minutes each side. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Mandy says Dreena is such a vegan cookbook legend. And then there is somebody said they made something from your book. It's none other than one of your recipe testers, Monica Valencia, says Dreena's sweet potato cake and frosting in her new cookbook are so good. I've made the dessert with Japanese sweet potatoes. I bet that's delicious.
Thank you. Monica is the woman who helped me name the book.
Yeah, talk about that. We were talking about that before we came on, because I have a contest now to name my book. And what was it originally, and how did you decide on this title?
Yeah, maybe she can help you. This is the cake that she's talking about. It's a yellow. I'm not so good at showing the photos from the camera. I always get it in the wrong direction. Yellow sweet potato cake with sweet potato frosting. So it uses we call them in Canada, the thing in Canada is we have a sort of different labeling, right? We call them yellow sweet potatoes, and in the US, they're Hana or Japanese. So yeah, I knew that I wanted to have my name on the title or in the title of this book, because all of my previous books didn't. They were using the word vegan, plant heart families, eat, drink, and be vegan, let them eat vegan, lots of play on words. And this one I knew I wanted to use my name. So I was thinking Dreena's vegan kitchen, Dreena's plant-based kitchen. And I was just like, nothing was ringing, like just had that sort of heart connection with me. When you're working on a project and it clicks, you feel it in your heart. And so I was just like, I need something that it just has more pizzazz and it has more spirit for me. So Monica was one of my recipe testers, and I had a beautiful group of almost 20 people testing recipes for the book. And I went to them and I said, guys, these are the titles I'm working with. Dreena's vegan kitchen, Dreena's plant-based kitchen, Dreena's plant-powered kitchen. I'm like, I don't love any of them. Any ideas? And she was like, how about Dreena's kind kitchen? And I was like, that's it. It just encapsulated what I wanted to share in the book, how I tried to approach the diet with people from a place of meeting them where they are and showing them kindness so that they can hopefully open up to the idea of eating more plant foods, and then showing them that this diet is exceptionally kind to our bodies and to the planet and of course to animals. So it really just brought it all together in a beautiful way. And then John Robbins wrote the foreword for the book, and he's such a compassionate person, and it was Diet for a New America that was really my aha moment for becoming plant-based. So it was just all meant to be.
That's fantastic. I love those stories. I think that's almost harder than writing the recipes, deciding on the title.
Yeah, it's kind of like also naming recipes. You would know that too, right? Giving your recipe a name is sometimes a very hard thing to do because you want it to sound interesting, but not necessarily just say, Caesar dressing. You want to give it something that has a little more punch to it so people are keen to try it out.
Right. And then when you have the index, then you got to put the name and the other name, that doing that is a full-time job, doing an index.
That's true. That's true.
That is something. Well, this was not a complicated recipe.
It was easy. I think I had the ingredients prepped in advance, so it made it quite easy. And what I'll mention to people is, so I already have a batch of these in the freezer, and that's why I had some ready to prep, because these burgers freeze really well. So what you'd want to do if you want to freeze them is to shape them in the size patties that you want to cook, and then place them in a container and just put a small slip of parchment paper between the patties, and then in a container that is suited for the freezer. And then, they'll stay in the freezer for months, and then just take them out, let them thaw the night before or in the morning, and you can cook them straight. Even if they're still a little bit frozen, you can cook them up and they'll hold together really nicely. And this is a big batch. So this makes quite a lot of, I've got 3 girls and my husband eats, he's got a big appetite. So this feeds all of us plus extras left over. Yeah.
So you prefer to freeze the burgers before cooking them?
Oh, no, sorry. I don't normally do that, but I had some prepped in the freezer because I made these a few weeks ago. So I had made so many, I just put some in the freezer. But normally I just cook straight from making the batch. Just chill for maybe 15 minutes, half hour, then shape the patties and cook. Yeah.
Right. Because I sometimes freeze my burgers after I cook them, and then I just reheat them in the air fryer.
Okay. That makes sense too. Yeah.
Andrea says, does it help to refrigerate the patties to help them set up before cooking?
It does a little bit. I'd say either the patties or the entire batch of the mix. Usually I put this whole bowl in the fridge for about a half hour, because then the oats will absorb any extra liquid from the carrots and the beets and the vinegar, and it helps it all just kind of come together, and then shape your patties. But you could also shape them and then pop them on a plate in the fridge and have them ready to cook up.
Great. And Tina wants to know, is there a way to make them without beans for someone who has an allergy?
Good question. That has me thinking a lot lately about bean-free recipes, even though that seems very odd. You've probably come across it as well, AJ, that some people have trouble digesting beans and food sensitivities. I want to come up with a bean-free chili. That's one thing I've been working on. In this recipe, I would probably use more rice.
And what about a sweet potato, maybe? I don't know. I'm just thinking something to give it.
Yeah, I'd probably use an extra, the amount of beans that was in there, it's probably about just over 3 cups. So I might use say 2 cups of rice, maybe a little bit of sweet potato or white potato even, because I often add cooked white potato to a recipe like this, and it helps it set up nicely. And then maybe another half cup of oats. Yeah, that should work for you.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah, the potato I think would be a good one. I have a nice comment from you from Lissa. I love capitalized Dreena's book. It's absolutely beautiful done, really inviting. And Susanna said, I've made the sweet and sour lentils so far and the blueberry muffins. Both were excellent. Look forward to trying more.
Wonderful. Thank you. Was that Susanna?
That was Susanna, and she's from Canada.
Ah, okay.
Hello, Canuck. Nice. And Monica says, she says, I'm a lit major, so alliteration is often a winner when it comes to memorable titles and poetic lines. So give me some titles for my book, young lady. That's funny. And Monica asks, are the patties like stews? In other words, they taste richer in flavor the next day, or you really can't tell the difference?
I don't notice that as much with patties. I do with stews for sure, but I don't notice that myself with patties. Maybe other people do. I find they taste kind of the same, whether I've refrigerated them or frozen them. So yeah,
Have you ever grilled them on the grill or cooked them in the air fryer?
People have told me they've grilled them. We don't have an outdoor grill and my indoor grill is not the best. So I haven't. And my air fryer was really small and I sold it because I wasn't using it.
Well, you have 3 kids. You need the Breville. Yeah, that's for
because
sure.
I'm constantly working in batches, right? And I just found it was like a very time consuming appliance for me because the batches were small, but I think they would air fry really well because they hold really well. Even
it looks like meat.
Yeah. So like, that's kind of the test when you shape it right away. If it's holding together, then it should hold pretty well on the grill.
Yep. And Golightly says, I have Dreena's cookbook and this week made her white bean and corn chowder, pantry soup, and the silky smooth applesauce. Every one of them were delicious. Thanks so much for such a great cookbook.
Thank you. That's lovely.
Right.
We're entering soup season, right? It's getting, I don't know, it's probably not there for you. It's probably still.
Yeah, it's still 100 here. I live in the desert, so I don't know if we ever have soup season.
I would like to live in the desert. I have to tell
you. Half the year, everybody from Canada lives here. They're called snowbirds. And so you'd be among your people for 6 months for sure.
It's very like the rain has hit here and it's really damp. It gets in your bones, especially as you get older, you feel that dampness. So I'm looking for a gig in the States in the desert. AJ, keep in mind.
I told Dr. Goldhammer he needs to open another place here because there's a lot of people that could use it here. Mm-hmm. And real estate's still pretty affordable. So here's the question that almost every single guest that's ever been on Chef AJ Live has been asked, and this time it's from Melissa. Would Dreena please share what a typical day of eating is like for her and what does she do for fitness?
Okay. Yeah. So I'll start with fitness. I do move every day. I make it a priority to do something in the morning every day. And I've always worked out or done something at home. I have not really ever been someone to go to a gym. I've tried it, but it's not really my thing. And then when I had the girls, being at home with them, it was really quite a pain to take them anywhere to exercise, right? So I got very used to doing my own fitness at home. And when you do anything long enough, you learn enough about it that you understand the mechanics and what to do. It's kind of like cooking. So I can work out with a video, and when they're explaining anatomy issues in the video, I can go, okay, I get what they're saying. Like I know which muscles to engage. So I tend to do a lot of rebounding. I have a small trampoline in the house, and I love that. But I don't do it for like an hour every day. I usually go about 15 minutes or 20 minutes every second day. And then the other days I tend to do some yoga or another bit of light cardio or maybe a little bit of strength training. I also teach yin yoga, which we talked about. And I've noticed that as I get older as well, that doing extra exercise, like really pushing it, doesn't benefit my body. It causes more injury than benefit because hormones are changing and your body's changing. So I find for me doing like 20 to 30 minutes a day is all I really need. I feel good. I'm not creating a lot of extra stress on my body. And also, when you're busy and doing other things, those are other stresses that you have. So for me, that's what I do, and it works very well. I'm happy and, healthy enough. And then my typical day, I am one of those people that still hasn't given up on green smoothies. I do a green smoothie in the morning, but it's very green. It's not heavy on like nuts and seeds and fruits. It's quite green, almost like a green juice. And it has a little bit of flax in it, either spinach or kale, parsley. I actually have the recipe in my book. It's called Dreena's Green Smoothie. And I add some pineapple and ginger. This time of year, I add like ginger and turmeric and pepper to just kind of heat the body from within. And every day I make my own green tea matcha latte because I love it so much. And I use oat milk or usually it's oat milk and make it at home. And I really love that. And so in the morning, I might also have like a banana or maybe a little bit of muffin or something if I'm hungry. And then lunchtime, I almost always have some kind of lunch bowl. I just pull out of what's left over in the fridge. Like literally, if there's some stewed chickpeas or stewed lentils in the fridge, I'm pulling that out. It's usually quinoa, greens, leftovers of chickpeas or a bean dish or even burgers, crumbling that up on a bed of greens and grains, a nice dressing that I've made. That's usually lunch. I have a huge sweet tooth. Love, love, love sweets. So I need your book. And so I enjoy dark chocolate every day. It's not like the super sweet dark chocolate, but I do love it. And I usually have some fruit in the afternoon too. And then supper is whatever I'm making, like whatever I'm working on in terms of a recipe, if it's a pasta or a burger or maybe potatoes. And I like pretty simple. The more I've been eating vegan, and I haven't been vegan as long as you, AJ. There's not too many people who have been as vegan as long as you have. But like 25 years now, I've been eating this way. And I feel like the longer I eat plant-based, the more simple foods I love. So I'm quite happy to have some baked sweet potatoes with quinoa and kale in a bowl for lunch and drizzle on a nice balsamic dressing. Like that makes me happy, right? I don't need to have tons and tons of fuss with the meal. But anyhow, so supper's whatever I'm making. And then in the evening, I tend to have a snack, maybe some dates with nut butter or a little bit of non-dairy yogurt, or sometimes a little bit of vegan ice cream because I love my sweets as well. But I have smaller amounts, like I enjoy a small amount and then I'm happy. So that's kind of my typical day. I'm not a coffee drinker. It makes me feel really sickly, like it really bothers my stomach. So I don't drink coffee, but I do like a chai tea in the morning too. So that's me.
Nice. I know you taught yoga, but I didn't realize it was yin, which is my favorite kind of yoga.
Me too. Me too. I love it. And I love teaching it because it helps me. I was teaching flow yoga for the first year or so, but I'm a very like energetic person. And when I was teaching that, I felt very depleted because it was high paced and my energy was high paced, right? But yin yoga allows me to sink in and teach from a much more grounded, settled place. Yeah.
When did you get into yin? Because that's my favorite. It's like anybody really at any level can do yin. And it's like for the body, mind, and spirit.
It's really for everyone. And it is so healing for the body. I need to do it more. I need to like practice what I preach and do it more often because they say the type of yoga that's hard for you to do is the yoga that you need to do, right? So if it's difficult for you to sit still for a period of time, say a few minutes in a pose, that's the kind of yoga you need to do. And that's what yin yoga is. You're basically holding poses that allow a certain degree of stress on the ligaments and the tissues to open them up and create some healing. And you have to hold poses for about, say, anywhere from about 1.5 to 5 minutes. And in that time, your body's healing. It's producing more hyaluronic acid, and it helps work into the deep, deep tissues of your body that if you're doing flow yoga, you're working on your muscles and strengthening, but you're not getting into those connective tissues. And that's what yin yoga does. And that's why we love it, especially as we get older, because it helps in those connective tissues.
Yeah, I love it. Do you have a favorite pose? Mine is probably pigeon.
Oh, really? You know what? That's not my favorite. Yeah, I really love fish pose where you put the block between your shoulder blades and your head and you lie back and open through the chest. Yeah,
I love
love.
that too. Do you teach on Zoom? And is this, or when there wasn't a pandemic, were you teaching somewhere in person?
I teach at a studio, but all of my students are on Zoom now. So the studio does Zoom. And I think because especially with yin, you tend to get older clientele, at least in our area. You know, most people who do yin here tend to be over 50, 60. It's not just for people who are older, but that is the clientele that I have. They're quite happy to be in their homes and not make a trip out to the studio and park. So even though I'm in studio teaching, everyone's on Zoom, but it's nice because now, you know, I have students who actually are moving different areas of Canada and they're still doing Zoom with me. It's lovely.
Yeah. That, do you find that women tend to like it more than men?
Yeah, although I do have two male students that are with me every single week. They're like my regulars. And so the fruit flies love my house. You know, when you're vegan, you have more fruit flies than anywhere.
Man, you can't kill them because you're vegan.
They just love it. They just get really pumped living in your home. So yeah, I have a good mix of male and female, but I think in general, I find women tend to gravitate to yoga more than men. I'd love to see more men in yoga. It just seems to be women open up to it a little bit more naturally than men.
Because yin is so much about the hips, and men generally, even when they're flexible, they don't seem to have this, because they don't have babies, they don't seem to have the same flexibility.
Yes, that's right. And they kind of neglect it for many years, whereas women tend to address it, I think, a little bit earlier in life. Yeah.
Could this audience like take your Zoom classes? I mean, is there a way for people in the United States to do it? Maybe you could provide a link and I'll put it in the show notes.
I will send it to you for sure. My studio is called Vayusha Yoga, and I'll send it to you afterwards. I teach every Monday, 11:15 Pacific time. So that's 11:15. That would be 2:15 Eastern time. And it's an hour class.
Right. It's right during my show. Otherwise I'd take it. Oh boy, that sounds fantastic. Shavasana is always one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I always remind my students that that pose is just as important as all the other poses, because you want to jump out of Shavasana sometimes, right? It seems to be, people sometimes feel like it's a waste of their time, but really it's like digesting after a meal. That's what I call it. Shavasana is your digestion.
Yeah. I love that shirt that says, I'm just here for the Shavasana.
Smart.
Yeah. So this might be a dumb question, but depending on who I ask, chefs will say, well, that's like asking me who my favorite kid is. But do you have a favorite recipe in this book?
Oh, one of my favorites is a very simple, I love soups. If I could eat soups every day, I'd be happy eating soups every day. I feel like they're kind of undervalued in our recipe world. So one of my favorite recipes is this curried carrot and lentil soup. And I really love it because it's just so simple. You can throw it together any night of the week. You don't have to shop for special things because it basically has carrots, lentils, and spices, curry powder. It has some coconut milk. You could use light coconut milk or just use any other plant milk that you want to use if you don't want to use coconut milk. That's one of my favorites. I just really love how simple it is. And I also have a queso in here that I love. It's made with pumpkin seeds. And a lot of my readers have nut allergies, or they have, because I have, connected with a lot of moms over the years, especially with plant-powered families. I hear from moms so often with nut allergies in their schools or with their kids. And so this recipe, I'm looking for it here now. I should know where it is right away, right? But I don't. It's called kin queso because it uses pumpkin seeds. And I love this one. It uses pumpkin seeds and potato and carrot, and you do everything in the blender, heat it up in the blender. As you know, if you have a high-speed blender, you can heat it all the way through. So that one is one of my favorites as well. And then, I love the desserts too.
Absolutely. Do you ever teach cooking classes?
Not Not really. I do videos on Facebook. I tend to jump on Facebook Live when I'm just kind of in the mood. I don't always schedule it. And that's something I need to learn how to do more like you do, schedule actual cooking times with people and have regular events that are scheduled in the week. But I like doing it on Facebook because, you know, you can connect with people rather than doing a pre-recorded video.
Sure.
Yeah.
How old are your kids now?
20, 16, and 12.
Oh my God, 20.
I know, they're all grown up on me.
I mean, I remember the book where there were like these 3 little kids on the cover.
Yeah, I know. They were my like little, I called them Wiegans.
Oh my, how do they feel about that now? Like, do they show their friends, this was me, I was on a book?
Yeah, my youngest loves it. She's always trying to point out that that's her on the book. The older two, now that they're, you know, 16 and 20, they're kind of like, eh.
That's hilarious.
Whatever. Mom's
Hilarious.
with another book, whatever.
Christopher says, for your yoga classes, are there replays or is it just the live class?
Yeah, my studio hasn't offered replays yet. I'm really hoping that they will, but they haven't. I do have some yoga channels posted on, not a lot, yoga classes posted on my YouTube channel, only a couple, but I recently did a YouTube yin yoga class about 4 months ago. So there's one there on my YouTube channel now.
I'm going to check that out for sure. G says, how do you have a 20-year-old if you're only 31?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, you can
No, it's the vegan. I don't care what people say because it does, you do age. I mean, if you're a healthy vegan, you know, you age in reverse.
Well, it's like you, AJ. I mean, if you tell them your age, they would be shocked.
I know, I'm almost 62. I mean, I'm not trying to be vain, but I don't think I look 60. I mean, I don't know, because I see a lot of these 62-year-olds here and they don't look like me. I hope I don't.
No, you look.
If they're not watching.
You look 20 years younger.
Yeah.
True.
I swear it's plants. It's plants, guys. Yeah. If for no other reason, do it for vanity, right?
Well, you know, whatever works for you. But I'm 50, and
Whoa, yeah, you look 30. You get 20-year advantage. That should be our next book, the 20-year advantage.
You're already writing your next one.
Yeah, I know. I'm always thinking of titles, but it's actually to sit down and write the book. That's why, like yesterday, I had Gene Stone on. He's written over 50 books. It's like, God, I can't even write 5. How did you guys do it? Gina says, I love her hair up. She has delicate features that really show. Very pretty. Yeah, you're a good spokesperson for vegan, I'll tell you.
You have the kindest audience.
You know, I do, because you know what? If they're not kind, I have this button and I can actually make them go away. It's awesome. It's like I can block them on YouTube, Restream, and Facebook. Doesn't mean they can't come back under another name, but I do. I love these guys that come and watch every day. They are very kind, aren't you guys? Yeah. Nice. Well, this is just, come back sooner. And if you want to do a yin class or whatever, we can always do a bonus show it too. So yeah, just don't forget about me, and I'll try not to forget about you this time. Are you already working on your 7th book?
You know, I shouldn't be thinking about it, but I have some ideas bubbling, and I'm like, just settle back a little bit, Dreena. Chill out, do some more yin yoga. Relax.
Well, maybe you could do a book that combines like yin and food. Like, I don't know, like you take a yin pose and like, I don't know, just like a recipe for every yoga pose or something.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Camel pose and create a recipe that is, I don't know.
I don't know. You never know. Combine your 2 loves.
Yeah. Yeah, true enough. Yeah.
Sid says glowing skin on both of you. Yeah, that's another advantage. It really is. It's a skincare regime, vegan, and I think it's the vegetables.
It's from the inside out, right? You know, we're nourishing all those cells, and that shows up in different aspects of our body, you know, from our organ health to our skin health. So
yeah. Are there any like carnivore eaters like that look really, really good? Like, I don't know, because I don't see them doing demos. I mean, what are you going to do for a cookbook? You know, grill a steak? I mean, what are you going to make?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of working with plant foods too. I never liked cooking when I cooked with meat. It really was so unappealing to me. And then people tend to think that eating plant-based is, you know, more restrictive. For me, it felt like cooking freedom, to not have to work with animal flesh and worry about cross-contamination, anything like that. It was just this whole beautiful, you know, cooking scenery. So I can't even imagine. No.
Did you take the photos? Because like, I mean, look at this, the baked onion rings. Oh my God. And this one really looks really appealing. The holiday torte.
I did not. I am not a food photographer, and I would probably drop myself a little bit batty trying to do food photography because it's very precise, right? It has to have, you have to have the right lighting, you have to have the right temperature of the food. And for me, it really pulls on my perfectionist chords way too much. So I hired a food photographer who actually is also in Canada. She's on the East Coast. And I would send her, we worked beautifully together, but I've worked with a couple of photographers this way now, where I send the recipes, give some ideas of what I'd like the dish to look like, or what I'd like to have in the scene, like maybe some fresh herbs on the side or something like that. And, you know, we only had to do a few reshoots. She really did a beautiful job.
Yeah, no, yeah, really good photography. I'm using Hannah Kaminsky for my next book, and I love it because she's vegan, number one, and so she knows how to cook the recipes, and she'll actually eat them.
Yeah, she's wonderful, and she's so skilled and has done so much photography that she can like churn it out pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I'm excited for you to, yeah.
Well, pictures make all the difference. So guys, get the book. We've got links all through the show notes. Dreena was kind enough to give you the recipe. There's other burger recipes too, like this bistro burger. That looks, sorry about my green screen. I'll get that fixed. This one looks delicious also.
Mm-hmm.
You can't.
Yeah, portobello burger, because you know what? As much as I create different burger recipes, one of my very favorite burgers to ever have is a good portobello burger. Like,
and you have it in the book also, Porto burgers.
Yeah, just marinate up those big Porto mushrooms, and that's the best kind of burger.
Yeah, I've got it. Let me know when you can cross the border, because then I can, because every guest on this show gets 2 free bottles of balsamic vinegar, but Thomas only ships to the United States. So when you can cross, please remind me, because you never got your first 3 bottles last time. And then the 7-herb Italian is so good for marinating portobello mushrooms and grilling. I think you'd really like it.
I would love that. I will indeed hit you up on that offer.
Yeah, please don't forget, and please don't come back. You guys want her to come back and do a yoga class for us? Maybe she will. And you could be cooking at the same time.
Multitasking, yeah.
That's great. Well, congratulations on the book. I see that it's #1 in new release, and let's see, at least today it is, and maybe even in other categories. So let's keep getting it, so that we love when vegan books are so do well, because that's good for everybody.
Totally. You know, open it up to more people so that people feel it's very doable, right? Remove that impression that it's hard work, because it's not. It just takes a little bit of preparation, a little bit of effort, but no more than cooking anything else.
No, definitely not. And do you like your Instant Pot?
I do. Yeah, I used it a lot in the summer. You know, it took me about 6 months to take it out of the box. When I first got my Instant Pot, I was very intimidated by the buttons and just felt like, you know, it was a learning curve. Like I had to figure out this whole new appliance, when really all I got used to doing was using the manual button and setting it to times that I wanted. And now I'm, you know, very happy with it. But I used it a lot in the summer for sweet potatoes and potatoes. Really made a difference because we had a hot summer here. So.
You know, people are really liking the idea of yoga and cooking. And Lissa says, bring her back. I have an idea. Your next book, it can be a weight loss cookbook, yoga book. It could be called Yin to Get Thin.
Ooh.
Or Yin Your Way Thin, or something like that.
Inspirational of you.
Yeah, inspiration. That's good. I love it. That's great. Nice. Well, thank you so much. This was a wonderful presentation, a wonderful recipe, and a wonderful book.
Well, thank you very much. As I said to you before, you blow my mind how much content you produce every day and all the work you're doing. It's quite remarkable. And what you're offering to everybody is a huge gift. So thank you. I mean,
well, thank you. I want to get the word out. People that don't know you, or just, I mean, you never know who's going to stumble across this video. And like even today, somebody's saying, well, I've got to try plant-based again. And when they see recipes like this and how good people like you look, maybe they'll join the club.
Nice. That's what we want to hear. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Dreena, and best of luck with the book. And thanks to all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when my guest is Marco Ranzi, and he owns a vegan retreat in Costa Rica, and he's going to be making raw zoodles with bechamel sauce. Do you ever, being in Canada, it's kind of cold. Do you ever do any raw recipes?
You know, it's we get the heat for about 2 months. So I don't do a lot, but that sounds delicious.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care, Dreena.